Oh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sego, Ani, Buju, Wacheya, Kwekwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands as a gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share this space now and walk side by side into the future. So we were just meeting in Committee of the Whole closed meeting. We discussed a couple of different items, land at the former St. Joseph St. Mary Catholic School and an OMB appeal, 1350 Woodfield Crescent. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to rise without reporting.
Moved by Councillor Camden, seconded by Councillor Bohm, that Council rise from Committee of the Whole closed meeting without reporting.
Please vote. And that carries. Next, I'll ask for an approval of the addeds. We have an additional delegation, a motion of appreciation, and an added report to consent, and some communications. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Turner. Please vote. And that carries. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Councillor Turner.
Thank you, and through you. Council meeting number 2016-01, date December 1st, 2016. I, Laura Turner of the Council Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of Clause 1, Report number 4, received from the Planning Committee as my family owns property near the applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no other declarations of pecuniary interest, we will move to presentations. Tonight we do have a presentation. It's my pleasure to present Robert Baird and Mary McCarran with the AODA 10th Anniversary Champion Awards. And before I do that, I thought I'd take a moment just to read an excerpt from their nomination forms. So these were comments that were made by individuals that put their names forward for nomination. First for Marie McCarran. It says, Marie has passionately worked with vulnerable persons throughout her career and is always committed to promoting accessibility and inclusivity of individuals with disabilities, particularly in the post-secondary setting. After spending time as a pediatric nurse and high school teacher for the past 10 years, Marie has used her tremendous skill set at the Regional Assessment and Resource Center at Queen's University, advocating for and supporting students with learning disabilities, ADHD, and ASD on their journeys through high school and on to college and university. These programs provide much needed support for students in the local community, and the outpourings of gratitude from families has been overwhelming. In the past year, she has also guided one of her passion projects to completion, the transitionresourceguide.ca, for all students with disabilities in Ontario, providing information about accessibility and accommodation at post-secondary institutions. Marie built this project over the course of 4 years, eventually receiving full backing from the Ministry of Training, Colleges, and Universities. Marie is a strong advocate for students with disabilities and their ability to succeed in the post-secondary environment, and has been able to support hundreds of students on their transition journeys and into their successful post-secondary careers. And for Robert Baird, Bob has had a rewarding career with the engineering department of the City of Kingston. After retiring, Bob joined our Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee, MAC, and for the past 7 years has worked diligently and tirelessly to improve the physical environment of our city. We refer to Bob as our Professor Emeritus. Bob has a wealth of knowledge acquired by spending time studying and understanding the large volume of documents and standards related to accessibility, building codes and bylaws, be they provincial or local. Bob spends time reading project blueprints thoroughly, often catching details missed by other MAC project team members, city staff, or even the architects themselves. I myself have experienced Bob noticing and suggesting to the architect a change that would save the developer money that was unrelated to our accessibility review. This is one of Bob's notions of giving back. At any one time, our committee is involved in 30 to 40 city projects, buildings, parks, and bylaws, and Bob serves on many of these project teams, far more than any of the others of us would even consider volunteering for. In addition, when any project team needs advice, Bob is willing and ready to attend their design consultations or the site visits. Bob is a humble person, and as such is a reluctant leader. In leading by example, he inspires the rest of us to work better, harder, and with a smile. So congratulations, Marie and Robert. Okay, so moving on to delegations. We do have 3 delegations on the agenda tonight. The first is Jim Beatson, Jean Packin, and Laurel Claus Johnson, the Slow Demographic Coalition, who will appear before council to speak to report number 3, received from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee with respect to the 2015 Kingston Transportation Master Plan. And just a note and a reminder to all our delegations that you have 5 minutes.
Recall the slow demographic. And construction. I'm 82 years old, and I cycle regularly with a group of retirees weekly throughout the roads and trails of Kingston. So we're very familiar with all of the roads and trails, and particularly the KMP Trail. So, and even trails that have not been developed yet that are part of this future project. I'll be followed by Ms. Jean Packin, who's a runner, and Ms. Laurel Claus Johnson, who is a wheelchair person. First of all, I'd like to compliment the city on its consultants for an excellent and comprehensive plan for the connection of the KMP Trail to downtown Kingston. We have high hopes for its expeditious completion and look forward to adding it to our routes. Our concern, however, is that a fully asphalt surface trail will encourage the use by high-speed cyclists and skateboarders through the natural or off-road sections where walkers and strollers may be present. And we would prefer to see the use of crushed stone surfaces with compacted limestone screenings in those areas to help deter that activity. This surface type will match the existing KMP Trail, and it has also been used very successfully on the main trails in Lemoyne Point Conservation Area, which are quite heavily trafficked. It should be noted that there will be a significant cost saving in the use of the crushed limestone screening surface as well. And in our opinion, it provides a more harmonious appearance in the natural surroundings. If over time that crushed stone screening's surface should prove unsatisfactory, it could be then surfaced with asphalt. And that sort of begs the question, because we have to wonder whether the trail will be winter maintained. That is, will there be snow clearing and de-icing? And if so, that could be a factor in choosing the appropriate surface for the trail. Thank you for the opportunity of speaking to you on this matter.
Thank you. As Jim mentioned, my name is Jean Paquin, and I'll introduce myself as a mother and a cyclist and a runner. For all of these reasons, I use the trails in Kingston regularly. I'd consider myself a heavy urban trail user. And for that reason, I would like to thank Council immensely for developing the KNP Trail, continuing it all the way to the water. I'm just ecstatic about that. One thing I hope Council will consider is using the crushed limestone as well. As a runner, I find myself hunting out these natural trails within the urban center, going to Lemoyne's Point, Marshlands, Bell Park, in the cemeteries, has nice gravel routes. There are all sorts, the Oakwood Gardens. There are so many gravel trails that act as an oasis within the city, especially as the trail moves forward through the natural areas, specifically behind the Legion and through Bell Park. I hope that you will consider using the limestone screening over the asphalt for those reasons. As a runner, I think it's very important to, as a way of preventing injury, to have the softer surface of the gravel over the asphalt. I also think that it would enable there to be more shaded space with the gravel, because not as wide a section would have to be cleared as putting the pavement down. And having a shaded trail, especially in the summer for runners and dog walkers and for use throughout all times of the day, I think is really, really valuable. And the last reason is just that I think it's great for the city to have these natural areas that do feel like an oasis within the city, a break from the asphalt. Right? Thank you very much. Laura?
Sego, everyone. I must say that it is an honor to be here and to especially be joining you in a circle. I think this is the most awesome way to conduct business, and it is actually from the heart that everybody speaks, and we are all here for the same reason. And I'm here for the same reason you are, to make sure that the place where I live reflects things that I think are beautiful and are maintained in that way. So I want to speak on behalf of the land that is around that trail, especially around Bell Park and Bell Island, to ask you to keep it as natural as possible. And I guess there are economic reasons and there's aesthetic reasons and there are all kinds of reasons, and we all have them. You have your own. My own is the spiritual connection. I like to think that at some point in time, people can be more connected to the earth and more connected to close to the water as possible. So I would like to ask you, because you're the decision makers, you make decisions for all of the people of the city, please consider that element. Please consider that as a leaning towards the natural rather than leaning towards the unnatural. And I have nothing against driving on a road that is paved because it makes it pretty smooth, but I can say to you as well, I can drive on one with my electric scooter that is fine gravel. So my emotions here are, I'm thankful to be here, and I know that you are. It's a beautiful day. We are people at peace with the world. We're in a safe spot. We can express our feelings. And so Niawagoa for allowing me to come and put forth what I believe should happen to a small piece of land that you have the capacity to have some say over. So I'm just adding my opinion.
Thank
Niawagoa.
you very much. Are there any questions for the delegation? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Our second delegation this evening is Frank Dixon, who will appear before council to speak to report number 3, received from the Environment, Infrastructure and Transportation Policies Committee with respect to the 2015 Kingston Transportation Master Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors, city staff, media members, and fellow Kingstonians. Could the clerk please put the slide? Okay, thank you very much. So I'm addressing the Kingston Transportation Master Plan, and one thing I noticed was that there's a lack of imagination for new ideas in the master plan, and also there are some substantial gaps. So I'm speaking tonight on both those points. You have each received at your desk a copy of a Kingston Transit map, which I've modified for Inner Harbor ideas. Number 1 is additional harbor crossing options. And the first element is a swing bridge at the Bell Island connection to the eastern shore. We agreed some time ago that there be no vehicles ever crossing there. That was examined as a possible third crossing location. But what I'm seeing is this is an active transportation link possibility for cyclists and pedestrians only. And it would be a swing bridge construction. Since it's on the Rideau Waterway, it would have to be a federal operation. And since Bell Island control has been ceded to First Nations, it would require a partnership with them as well. But this would be a way of getting across the Inner Harbor without having to use the LaSalle Causeway or the 401 or the third crossing. It would be an advantage for people who like active transportation. It's a nice shortcut. It's a beautiful setting, but a 350-meter span. Item number 2, which is indicated on the chart, is a harbor ferry. This has been a part of Kingston in the past, and I envision that as a possibility in the future. One possible scenario would be a dock over in Navy Bay with a large parking garage constructed into the hill, and it would be a link of Kingston Transit going around RMC and then docking at the existing ferry location. Be a pedestrian and cyclist only, no vehicles. Number 3 is a possibility of water taxis, which are used in Vancouver. That's also shown a number on your map. And number 4 is an enhancement to the LaSalle Causeway. Won't go into that in so much detail right now, but could be 4 lanes 20, 30, 40 years down the road. There's room there for that. I'm going to briefly touch on some points on Kingston Transit, which are not discussed in the report. There's no actual presentation of the neighborhoods in Kingston which are either unserved or underserved by transit. We talk about how we want to build transit ridership, increase service, and so forth, but there's no actual analysis of that in the report. And I believe that we have to do that. We've got to look at what's actually happening and what could be happening and the cost of it. Okay. My next idea is what I'm calling a smart student card. If you're a Kingston Transit user, you have a pass like this and you click it on when you board the bus. So since Queens and St. Lawrence students are automatically members of Kingston Transit, we don't actually know where they're using the routes. We probably know that a little bit, but the enrollment is going to be growing at Queens and St. Lawrence. So if you were to design a smart student card, you could actually just click that on, and then it would register you as a Queens or a St. Lawrence student member on that route. We need to post the maximum capacity of our buses on the buses. I've been on buses 12 times since September that had more than 25 standees in addition to the 35 or more people sitting. And I think that's unsafe operation. We need to figure out what that is and post it on the bus. My final point is that if you look in the appendix of the master plan, we see some math back there which explains the techniques that have been used to analyze and get to where we are.
30 seconds.
And looking at the math that's used, and I'm a math person, know something about that, that's high school math. There's more advanced math available that we should be using and that we could be using to get at the heart of the matter and extract more information and solutions going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the delegation? Seeing none, thank you. Our third and final delegation this evening is Matt Ellerbeck, who will appear before council to speak to report number 6, received from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee with respect to the KMP Trail, Inner Harbor Trail alternate proposed route. My apologies, though that delegation has been withdrawn. Okay, so if there are no other delegations to be added, we will move. We'll move on. We have no briefings tonight. Are there any petitions to present? Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much. I have a petition that began almost 2 weeks ago from the community, sometimes called Sunnyside. I'll read it to you. It's whereas Sunnyside neighborhood has been identified as having one of the lowest amounts of parkland, hectares per population in Kingston, and whereas the Parks and Recreation Master Plan advocates the acquisition of parkland open space in the urban core, and with special consideration for the purchase of surplus school sites, and whereas St. Joseph St. Mary's School has historically been part of the recreational open space in Sunnyside, and whereas Sunnyside and adjacent neighborhoods have seen significant urban intensification, thereby increasing the number of residents. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Kingston purchase the St. Joseph St. Mary's School site. And this was has 57 online signatories and 265 written signatories. And I also want to thank another former colleague, Don Rogers, who collected a fair number of those signatures. So thank you very much. And if I could just mention very quickly, when this petition began, nobody knew that this would be something that was being brought up in camera tonight to be discussed. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Are there any other petitions to present? Okay, seeing none, we do have one motion of appreciation, moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Schell, that the appreciation of Kingston City Council be extended to Dawn House and Salvation Army Harbor Lights for the years of assisting those in need in our community, and best wishes to both agencies for their future engagement and service to the community. We will call the vote. And that carries. Now I'll ask for report number 1 from the Chief Administrative Officer.
It's moved by Councillor Holland, seconded by Councillor Candon. Report number 1 from the Chief Administrative Officer, consent, be received and adopted.
So there are items A through G, and just a note from the addeds that there's been a change to item D. Would anyone like any of the items separated? Okay, seeing none, we will vote on them as a whole. Item A is the Kingston Interoperability Safety and Security Project, FATPOT, Intelligent Hub for CAD-to-CAD Interoperability, Single Source Purchase. Item B, Councillor Hutchison. Okay, so we've separated item C, so we will vote on the balance, everything except for C. So I've already read A. B is award of contract, 1-ton truck with a 9-foot service body. Item D is proposed amendment to Streets Bylaw 2004-190 and 873 to 877 Division Street and parking license agreement. Item E is assignment and renewal of agreement with CP Wright Ontario Properties Limited, Kingston Transit Transfer Point, 1096 Princess Street, Kingston Centre. Item F, award of contract for waste collection and disposal services for the Kingston Area Recycling Centre and various city locations. Item G, appointment of municipal bylaw enforcement officers to enforce the no smoking bylaw. So we will call the vote. And that carries. Item C, community visioning exercise and preliminary market analysis for the North Kingstown Secondary Plan, terms of reference. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. Having read this and having consulted with constituents and members of the community, we felt that we should make small minor changes on this. And if I may read, I have an amendment that I'd like to read, if that's okay. So that Clause C of Report 1 of the Chief Administrative Officer be amended to include the following: that an additional public meeting be held to confirm the report's compilation of the community visioning exercise after the draft is prepared, but before it is officially received, such that the draft could be improved to best reflect the visioning exercise of the community. And that number 2 of the evaluation proposals, experience and qualifications of the project team include, but not be limited to: A, expertise in community engagement; B, experience revitalizing old industrial zones; C, experience with integrated active transportation; D, expertise with great public spaces; E, expertise in environmental sustainability; and F, experience with international city visions.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the floor. It's been moved by Councillor McLaren. Who's the seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Okay, so Councillor McLaren, the floor is yours. You can speak to the amendment.
Thank you. So in the original proposal, it was recommended that there would be one public meeting. It strikes me that sometimes there are misunderstandings and that the public may want to correct what the consultants may have heard or misheard, and that this would give the public a better opportunity to explain their vision and to confirm their vision. That's the reason for the first one. And the second one is part of our plan was, forward-thinking, livable green city. It suggests to me that we should have a little bit more direction with regards to some of the criteria of the people who will be doing this for us, and that's the purpose of having these extra criteria in there. It's not that we add more. This is what would be at least included within the part 2 of the evaluation proposals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the amendment? Councillor Hutchison.
This is a particular interest to me because it's North Kingstown Secondary Plan will take place in Kingstown District and in Kings Court Rideau, my seatmate here, district. And I just want to say I've talked to staff, and particularly on the first part, they didn't have any problem with an additional meeting to confirm the community visioning exercise. And so that people feel that they've been heard and it's been interpreted in a way they expected. So it just gives another opportunity to the public to be engaged and to see how the process is working. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, just a quick question to staff. In general, I'm okay with the first part of this amendment. I'm a little concerned about the second part of this amendment. And so I'm wondering how we might evaluate how that evaluation weighting would work for these items, and if that would fit within our RFP process as we normally would go to a consultant. Would this be a struggle? I'm looking at item F here as it may be a little broad.
Who would like to take that? Ms. Agnew?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. I think from staff's perspective, it is quite a list, a diversified list of different types of consultants that are in part 2 of the amended motion as proposed. I think maybe an option we could offer would be to use language like these would be the preferred consultants as opposed to mandatory, so it gives a bit of flexibility and also gives us the ability to have the best range of different proposals that come through so we can get truly competitive bidding. In terms of how we would look at that, there is a scoring criteria that's been assigned in general points, but to look at how we could break that down by different disciplines, I think that we're going to find it's very difficult to find a wide range of firms that would have all of these expertise available. So using language that's saying these are the types of expertise that are preferred and give some option for flexibility in the way that consultant responses come in would maybe give us a bit of room there.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question. In terms of the weighting here, one of the things that we've seen mentioned several times in this report is the need for consultation and experience for consultation. But when we look at the evaluation breakdown, we don't see what the weighting is of public consultation. And I think that's really important for this secondary plan as it impacts several neighborhoods, and we want to make sure, and also stakeholders, so we want to make sure that we want to be sure that what we're asking for has that experience there, and you sort of see that come out in the second half of this proposed amendment. So I'm just wondering if how that would be weighted as part of this evaluation system.
Commissioner Hurdle.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of the report that you have in front of you and what's outlined in the scoring or criteria area, where the consultation would fall into would be under experience and qualification of the team. So we would look at their past experience and the kind of projects that they've been involved with in terms of consultation, their ability to carry these kinds of projects forward. And also in the proposed work plan, so we would have a sense from that proposed work plan what there are planning to do in terms of how they're going to reach out to the community and get the community involved in the community visioning exercise. So in terms of that community consultation, that's where those two criteria would include that. And I think it's important to really make the point here that this is for the actual visioning exercise. A secondary plan would come as a second phase. So this doesn't include the actual secondary plan.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I'm not going to propose an amendment to the amendment, but listening to Ms. Agnew, I'd consider it but I want to hear from a little more of council about this before we move forward. I would consider it with a preferential kind of statement rather than the current statement. Other than that, I'm very supportive of the first half. Consultation is really important. This whole project, from the vision to the secondary plan, is going to guide intensification in our city for the next 30 years, 50 years. And we want to make sure that we do it as carefully and as right as possible. And so the concerns that you've heard from the community make sense because we want to make sure that we approach this in the right way. So if somebody was willing to propose an amendment to amendment or a friendly amendment on this, I'll support the whole thing. Otherwise, I can't support the whole thing.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Stroud, will you take the chair?
Certainly, Your Worship. I take the chair and I recognize you.
Thank you. So I share Councillor Allen's concern. I have no problem with the first clause, but the second one is very restrictive of the way that it's written. So if we had a firm that was excellent in community engagement, revitalizing old industrial zones, with the integrated active transportation, great public spaces, and environmental sustainability, but perhaps they've done amazing work in Vancouver, they would be excluded. So this is exactly the sort of thing where we want to be careful with the language that we're using here. So I'm happy to put forward an amendment to the amendment if I have a seconder. The amendment would. So
I haven't asked for a seconder yet. Hang on a second.
So I'll read you the amendment, and then you can decide if you want to second it. So the amendment would replace the words "include but not be limited to" with the words include language indicating preference for. If I have a seconder.
Seconded by Councillor Bone.
I have to set a good example. There it is in writing.
So we have an amendment on the floor by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Deputy Mayor, or by Councillor Bone. It's just been read by the mayor. Do you need to, clerks, do you need to read it out? Yeah. I'm just getting it down here. It's coming up. I know we promised Deputy Clerk we would give him a couple amendments as a send-off before he goes away. So. As soon as it's up on the screen, I will ask who wants to speak to the amendment. And remember to keep your comments to the amendment only at this point. So you see up on the screen there. So discussion at this point is only to the amendment itself, and we'll start with the mover, Mayor Patterson.
Point of order.
Yes.
It could be my poor handwriting, but it was actually supposed to say indicating preference, not inviting preference.
So that was an interpretation of handwriting, not an amendment. Do you have anything else to say as the mover? Okay, so we'll go to Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much. This is a sensible amendment. I think it captures the intent of both the mover and seconder. If we believed in friendly amendments, I think that's what it would have been. It is a pretty wide array of skill set that we're requesting, so it's more feasible. My first teaching job was advertised as English, drama, history, and music. And I applied, and when they asked what instruments I played, I said the radio, but not well. And I got hired anyway. So clearly, I think if you, if a applicant can't meet all of the criteria, but can meet some of it, or most of it, then clearly we shouldn't preclude them from applying. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Now I see Councillor McLaren.
I'd like to confirm what kind of Councillor Neal believes to be true. This does match the intent much better than my original language, and I thank the mayor for that.
So it's basically a friendly amendment at this point. Councillor Holland?
Yes, thank you. And so my comments are to do with the amendment as a whole, which I think is okay at this point. So I just wanted to know
to this
amendment.
language you're speaking at this point. And we're coming back to the amendment at once we vote on this.
I will return to the amendment.
Anyone else want to speak to this alternate language proposed by Mayor Patterson? Okay, then we'll call the vote on the amendment to the amendment as you see up on the screen. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Just please vote. And I return the chair.
Thank you very much. So now we are back to the amendment as amended. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the amendment? Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do appreciate the amendment, and as a whole, particularly the second part, because I think it's important that the RFP, that we're very, well, we need to be careful, of course, not excluding proponents on this. We do need to discuss in more detail what we're looking for here, in that just sort of offering the idea of trying to create a livable green city through this secondary plan without indicating what I think we discussed in our strategic planning session regarding the Montreal Street corridor, as developing it as a sort of a series of hubs, not necessarily a commuter throughway, which it currently is. So in order to kind of broaden the scope of this visioning exercise, I very much appreciate the second part of the amendment. I think, what we will find out more as we go along, of course, is what the community is looking for. But what seems to be lacking at this point is a series of, with all of the revitalization that we see in Rideau Heights, we need to connect that neighborhood with the rest of the city. And just having cars and really good transit systems and bike lanes along the Montreal Street corridor, which I think, one could interpret this RFP as just sort of seeking a solution to problems like that, when really we're looking to solve sort of broader problems, or at least create more from this exercise than just more efficient transportation options. So for those reasons, I will be supporting the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to the amendment? Councillor McLaren, you can speak last if you wish.
Thank you. And just to clarify, this is exactly to give better direction than just mere experience and qualifications of the project team. There's 30 points that are going to be given in the RFP. Please distribute them, preferably in these categories, and anything else you think is important. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we will call the vote on the amendment. Please vote. And that carries. On the motion as amended, Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have to say I'm really happy to see this. I think it was in 2007 when I first started talking to the CAO. It wasn't the CIO then, he was Finance Commissioner, about this, the old industrial area in particular. And by entirely, and sort of me trying to push that rock uphill for a while. So, but now under a completely different route, it's come together with the Inner Harbor, and it's the vast majority of the district I represent in terms of land mass. And I think it's really important for some of the same reasons Councillor Holland mentioned, joining the what's been called the North End together, knitting it together, but also because these has the promise for an employment area, and the area needs the jobs, frankly. And I'm really looking forward to that, and also the improvements and amenities that may go with it, and that will facilitate development and allow development to take place. So I'm looking really forward to this, and I thank staff for the report they've given us so far. It shows a real willingness to be open to community engagement and finding out what people across the city, in particular in Kingstown and Kings Court Rideau, but across the city are interested in terms of this area. And I think it's a real opportunity for us to use the city as a community economic development platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, we will call the vote on the recommendation as amended. And that carries. Report number 2 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Camden. Report number 2 from the Chief Administrative Officer, recommend be received and adopted clause by clause.
So, having discussed this with the clerk, the best way to approach this is to deal with items 1 and 2 together, because item 2 essentially is an amendment to item 1. So by including item 1 and item 2 together, we have the most updated changes to the recommendation for the non-statutory Citizen Advisory Committee review. Call the vote. This is on 1 and 2 together. Councillor Hutchison?
A point of order. In part 9, in part 1.9, we had a meeting where we discussed this at the ARC committee, and what's there is not what we agreed to.
Okay, so that's not actually a point of order. What we can do is we can just, can we delay the vote? Mr. Clerk, can I see you for a moment? Okay, so what we've done is we've just put the vote on hold for a moment. So Councillor Hutchison, you have the floor. You can ask a question of staff related to what's before us.
Thank you. I'm just thrown off here for a second, perhaps. In number 1, part 9, it states that it says administration policies, but I don't know what they came up with. The ARC committee would meet every 2 months on a trial basis. Is this changed in part 2, was just suggested to me? And if so, where? Because I've missed it.
Mr. Clerk?
Through your worship, there is no change with respect to ARC. The only changes are with respect to the Administrative Policies Committee, so ARC will continue to meet monthly.
So you have to refer to item 2, Councillor Hutchison,
right,
where that indicates that that was in fact the. So what happens is item 1 was the original recommendations, and then item 2 provides the amendments, one of which is the one that you're referring to. So by dealing with items 1 and 2 together, we're imposing all of the changes that are listed in item 2.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I see how it's working. I didn't see that ARC wasn't there, so therefore it's not changed. Okay, that part I missed. Thank you.
Councillor Neal.
Yes, now would be the appropriate time to talk about the Memorial Centre Advisory Committee. It's part of this, 1 and 2. I appreciate that one of the issues that was brought forward by staff and by the mayor in discussion before was that other recreational areas, whether it's Artillery Park or elsewhere, don't have a committee of their own. The one difference I would suggest for the Memorial Centre is the ongoing relationship we have with the Agricultural Society and with the Fall Fair, which is unique to it. I have a question for our staff. Would it be a reasonable expectation that we would have an opportunity to request a public meeting through ARC where issues regarding the Fall Fair and our commitment to the Ag Society might have an opportunity to be aired? That's the concern, because in the neighborhood immediately surrounding the area, both Kings Court and Williamsville, we have few complaints about the fall fair, and people move there knowing it will be well lit and a noisy 4 days, but they support it. But there have been issues that have come up before that have been able to be resolved at the Memorial Center Advisory Committee through ARC. And I'm just curious if there would be an opportunity for that kind of input.
Commissioner Hurdle?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I just want to clarify that we would continue to work very closely with the Agricultural Society and the Fall Fair that takes place on a yearly basis. And we have done so for the past 2 years, even though the committee hasn't really met. So I don't think it's a committee meeting that would prevent us from doing that. The second part is if there were issues in regards to the Fall Fair event, if it was concerns that the Ag Society had, we would want to meet with the Agricultural Society rather than the public at large and try to resolve these issues and see how we can better support them. I think that would be the most logical step to take. If there were concerns of surrounding neighbors, what we would do is we would approach the association. So Williamsville has an association, Kings Court as well, and we would work with those associations because they're closest to the residents and they're within those neighborhoods. I mean, at ARC, I think that something could be brought forward, but I just want to remind council that I don't believe that this type of discussion and hearing of concern is part of the ARC mandate. I think it's more focused on policy. So if it was policy related, from a staff perspective, we would bring it to ARC, but if it was just to have a conversation with the stakeholders, I think it would be a much better approach to work with the actual key stakeholders and the neighbors that are concerned rather than bring in public at large.
So I think I've heard your answer, but if you could just confirm, if the Williamsville Association, if the Kings Court Association, or if the Ag Society had issues, they could go through the Commissioner's office and have a full hearing of those issues.
Commissioner Hurdle?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely, and we do the same thing with any other community association in the city that has concerns, whether they're within their neighborhood or a specific facility that's located within their neighborhood.
Thank you.
So with that, we will call the vote. And that carries. So we will move to item 3, which is the 2016 calendar of meetings. Please vote. And that carries. Number 4, first, Commissioner Dennis Leger, Commissioner of Transportation, Facilities, and Emergency Planning Services will provide introductory remarks. Then Lynn Carlotto, General Manager of the Rogers K-Rock Center, will provide a briefing with respect to the Rogers K-Rock Center 2016 annual plan. Commissioner Leger.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. As you're aware, SMG Canada operates the Rogers K-Rock Center on behalf of the City of Kingston. And every year, council grants the opportunity for the GM, Ms. Lynn Carlotto, to present the upcoming plan for the year 2016, as well as the operating budget submission. So at this point in time, we have both Ms. Carlotto in the audience and her Assistant General Manager, Director of Marketing and Events, Nick DeLuco. I'd like to invite Ms. Carlotto to brief council on her plan. Thank you.
Mayor Patterson, members of council, good evening. Let me bring you through 2015, and let's take a look at what 2016 is shaping up to be. When you take a look at our entire body of work to date, you'll see some pretty impressive numbers. 891 events we project through the end of this year, and over 1.7 million fans. It's a lot of visitors to the city of Kingston, and it's a number that we do know that will continue to grow and create a lot of great impressions of the city with a lot of newcomers. Let's also talk about awards. Rogers K-Rock Center has been noticed from the very beginning, really, and we, for this year, as well as 5 other years, have been the winner of the Canadian Music and Broadcast Industry Award for major facilities, 8,000 seats or fewer. So this is an honor that we don't take lightly. It tells you that we are very highly regarded within the industry and that those in the live entertainment business look to our building as really best in class. We've also just found out, and this is going to be announced on December 10th, that for one of the most prominent entertainment industry publications out of the United States, there is going to be an award, first time. It's called Standing Room Only Must Play Venues of 2016. The inaugural class will be 20 buildings worldwide. There's going to be 2 buildings from Canada. One is Toronto, one is Kingston. So I am very proud of the company that we keep in that regard as well. So let's look at the bookings. And again, these are cumulative numbers. You'll get to see how the ebb and flow of the business works. So you'll see some years we've had more events than others. We don't have trends here that we can identify. There are so many factors, everything to do from the economy to artists that are touring to the size of tours, whether or not they really would be designed for a building of our size. So there's lots of factors at work, but you get to see a good snapshot of what our bookings have looked like over the years. Bookings are very much impacted by the foreign exchange rates. This has been a real problem for us this year and something that we're dealing with as best we can in terms of creating a facility that is very capable of working within the budgets of lots of local organizations to help us really boost our event count when a lot of the shows that we would really expect to see coming in from the United States may not be coming at all because of the cost of doing a tour or doing a leg in Canada. When you really think about it, if an artist guarantee is going to cost 30, 35% more to play a date in Kingston, in Canada, there's going to be a likelihood that those tickets won't sell, or at least not to the extent that they'd need to. This past year, there were 4 events that we did not pursue, quite simply because the math didn't work. We knew that they wouldn't generate the business that we needed them to generate. They would have been very risky to do. In another year, that wouldn't have been the case. So foreign exchange is really a problem for us, and unfortunately one that we really don't see changing in the foreseeable future. But we do grow in other ways. We have products that we sell, we have great premium seating options, we have promotions, we have advertising sponsorships, and you see that we have continued to grow the revenues in the building in spite of all of these other obstacles. And our costs, like everyone else, we work to limit expense, working within our budget, working however we can to reduce expenses where controllable, and to always investigate additional areas where we might find cost savings. Let's look at 2015 as just a roll-up of all of our numbers for the year. At the end of this year, we're projecting that there's going to be 295 active days, not 295 events. Active days meaning 106 events, including everything from Kingston Frontenac Games to Disney on Ice to community events, etc. In addition to that, we do an extensive number of ice rentals. The building is very busy when the leagues come in end of day. So we're operating right up until 11 p.m. at night, 122 ice rental days this year. There's 68 conversion days. We have to, overnight, move the building from one mode into another. And frequently it takes even more than that. There are events that we do that take 3, 4, maybe even sometimes more time than that to put together, which leaves us this year with 69 days that we had nothing going on in the building. Now, that's a little bit misleading because there's always something going on in the building. There's always repairs and maintenance. There's systems that we're working on. There's painting. There's just routine work, renovations that we have to have an empty building for. So when you really boil it down and also think of that as being pretty much the summer months when people don't want to be inside to begin with, you can see how the year is an incredibly busy one. It's not only about the numbers, though. It's also and primarily about the experiences that people have in the building. We talk an awful lot about our surveys and the input that we get back from fans, but I wanted to share with you some of the input that we get back from those that actually rent the building, those that bring events to us. And you'll see that we have comments that are really quite broad-based, things that I'm proud of what our staff delivers on behalf of the city and the building, that we do a great job bringing the building events out to the community, that we stand up for the rights of the rights holders, and that the staff really does a great job in servicing and handling the shows as they need to be. These are shows that travel all over the country and in many cases the world. So for us to be able to get comments like this is really something to be very, very proud of, and God knows that we are. Certainly the experiences from Skate Canada in the building for almost 2 weeks, when you count move-in, event, and then move-out, were also very positive. And we are also well aware of the fact that the activity that we bring to downtown is very much a business driver, centered likely in downtown, but certainly with an impact citywide. This is also a big time for us in terms of digital platforms. We know that this is the way that our sales are going and really where information is generated, and also where most of our customers and fans are looking to get their information from. This was the year of our redesigned website. We have a great partnership with Ticketmaster. We worked very closely with them to create a website that would humanize the building, to try to create more of a feeling of the activity that we have there. And in doing so, to make it more mobile friendly. A lot of people, most people, are now using their mobile phones to not only get event information, but also to buy tickets. And you see those numbers continue to increase. Our traffic increases, our unique visitors are increasing, and those numbers will just continue to rise. Also with Facebook, you can see in the past 2 years, we've doubled our audience. Twitter, no different. So more and more, this is where we're doing event announcements. This is where we're reaching out to our fans. We're looking to get input. We're looking to find out what people like, what people are looking for, and opinion. And as always, let's look at 216. Now, there's a number of events that are on sale, and I hate doing this, but I will anyway. And there's 2 more just from this week that I know of that will be announced shortly that we can't announce just yet. So there's always a lot more activity out there. And that really is the core of what we do. We already have these events on sale. The Kingston Frontenacs continue to be front and center. #1 in the Eastern Conference. They're having an incredible season. And we build around what a tremendous base that we have with the team. So, look to 2016 to be another exciting year with a lot of activity.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Neal.
Yes, thank you. I did give you a heads up about one question that I think I ask every year, and our staff can affirm that I ask the same question of the Grand Theatre every year as well. And that's, has there been a decrease in the actual number of dark days at your venue? And how might you address that so that there's fewer of those dark days?
The number of days without an event is always going to vary based on events that confirm. We always have an incredible number of tentative dates on the books. This year we found that a lot of them ended up not materializing. Perhaps the tour just never occurred, or there were fewer dates, it was pushed off until next year, what have you. Whenever a situation like that occurs, we do look to backfill and to go out and bring in a community event, offer the space to a charitable organization. We do networking events. We're working very diligently to create a base of convocations. We know that we have great success in that already. So we are looking and actively pursuing other groups, organizations, events, luncheons that we can bring in. So how many is there and how does that vary one year to the next? It's fluid because the tentative event bookings are fluid. I can assure you that our focus is always to bring in activity if tentative activity doesn't materialize.
And lastly, I know that, how many years ago now, when we were going through the renewal contract process, I asked that same question, and there was a commitment made at the time that your organization would be more willing to assume the risk of bringing in some shows in order to maximize, to increase the, is that policy continuing, and what shows recently or currently are coming up where your organization is taking some risk at, if you're allowed to say that?
It has continued. In fact, we do have our holiday skating show coming up this weekend that we are promoting.
Thank you.
Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, a question. I've been to events there in the past. I'm just curious about the rental procedure currently for events. If there are times now where the arena section there's one function happening there, and then the outer area where there's often displays that's available to another organization. Do events happen concurrently in the building on days? And if not, are there opportunities for that?
It really doesn't happen that way because an event that needs the arena bowl also needs the concourse. So if it's a bowl rental, there isn't going to be something in the concourse. Frequently, there is something in the concourse and nothing in the bowl, because we will do events out in that area, the smaller things, the displays, the trade show, the meetings, that sort of thing.
Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, congratulations again on getting best venue under 8,000. That's fantastic to maintain that streak. Who are our biggest competitors in that category?
Any building the same size. So there's quite a number of them, and I'm not being facetious. There really are that many venues that are smaller that shows could be going to. So when you're putting together a tour, frequently what happens is that the promoters, the agents, will look at the buildings that will sell tickets, and they will route that way. So, the competitors are those that end up selling a lot, and we seem to sell a lot.
Okay, thank you.
So just to follow up on Councillor Allen's question, so the awards that the K-Rock Center continues to win, and you just mentioned the one that will be announced for 2016, that can actually help to fuel additional events and bring more activity.
Yes, it's such a competitive industry, and it's top of mind awareness. You need to always be right on the top of mind for those event decision makers. When you have a show that sells really well, when you have events that do really well, it's really important that you keep that messaging fresh so that a year goes by and now that same agent or that same promoter has another project that they're working on, and they'll say, oh, I remember we did that show in Kingston and it was a gorgeous building, the staff was fabulous, we sold great, we'll definitely go back there again. So it's all part of our marketing. That's part of our branding as well.
Councillor Stanek.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is just about the number of events and how they went down this year. And I know that SMG manages more than just the K-Rock Center. Was that a trend throughout? So I know you had mentioned it was the foreign currency, how it made an impact, and the economics. So was that seen across all venues?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. More so here in Canada. It's not an issue in the United States. Our SMG venues in Canada have definitely had an impact and not seen as many events as we have in the past.
Okay, seeing no other questions from council, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move to item 4B. That is the approval of the Rogers K-Rock Center 2016 annual plan. So we will, Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to highlight to Council that based on Ms. Carletto's comments there, that they're doing everything they can to remain top of mind. And I think Kingston needs to do that in parallel to ensure that we attract the most events and the most audience members to those events there. It's something that we have to do in tandem and in collaboration with SMG. We have to make sure that we're on top of mind for all of these acts and venues, and the things that we do in Kingston really well, we need to make sure that the artists and audiences that want to go to those events want to come to Kingston along with those events. And that way we can see those revenues, that attendance, and make sure that our whole downtown, as we saw in the comments, it continues to get the economic push from the events held at the K-Rock Center. And I just wanted to comment to Council that I think it's really important that we work with the K-Rock Center and their partners to make sure Kingston is in the top of mind, as well as the K-Rock Center, the Rogers K-Rock Center. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we will call the vote. And that carries. Report number 3 from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee.
I'm happy to submit report number 3 of the EITP, duly moved and seconded.
Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Allen, that report number 3 from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee be received and adopted.
So there's just the one clause, and again, this item is the 2015 Kingston Transportation Master Plan that was deferred from our previous council meeting. Is there anybody that wishes to speak? Deputy Mayor Stroud?
Is it possible to separate any of the clauses?
So,
or do we have to vote it all together?
No, we can separate anything that you want.
I'd like to separate the first clause.
Okay, so when we call the vote, we will separate the first clause from all of the remaining clauses. Okay, so we will call the vote. Councillor Hutchison?
These are the amendments we examined at the last meeting.
So there were a number of amendments. Well, there was an amendment that was put forward that was approved, so now it has come back to us. This is recommendation as amended.
Okay, so I have an additional amendment that I want to bring, and the clerk has it. So I just wanted to make sure how we were doing this. So are we voting on this as an amendment or as the amended motion?
So the item is on the floor, so you can put forward an amendment. Okay, so moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor McLaren. That clause 1 of report 3 from Environment, Infrastructure and Transportation Policies Committee be amended to include the following: that given the City of Kingston's vision of being Canada's most sustainable city, for the purposes of the next 2017 and 2018 Kingston Transportation Master Plan, that number 1, staff from the Departments of Planning, Transportation, Engineering, and Environment and Sustainable Initiatives utilize a fully coordinated and shared responsibility approach in developing the KTMP with the intention of fully informing the KTMP with the principles and conditions of the official plan, sustainability plan, climate action plan, and the city's transportation needs. Number 2, the RFP process begin with a consultation with recognized experts in, for example, transportation, complete streets, active transportation, transit and transportation full cost analysis, and transportation energy use and GHG emissions in the form of a public conference, smaller public meetings, and expert staff meetings, so that a free exchange of cutting-edge ideas and public engagement may create a peer review context and basis for the scope of the RFP to be issued for the next KTMP with the underlying principle of effective sustainability in a manner similar to what was utilized in Colorado. Number 3, as part of the Transportation and Sustainability Public Conference process, a public visioning exercise on transportation alternatives and synergies be conducted, to which the public and interested stakeholders will be invited. So that's moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor McLaren. So Councillor Hutchison, you can speak to the amendment.
Thank you, Your Worship. As we all know, the Kingston Transportation Master Plan 2015 has had an interesting ride through council and committees and back to council. And there was a considerable amount of concern expressed on council, but also with the public. I was still getting emails today about it. Regarding the kind of conclusions the report had come up with in the terms that it was proposing. We have seen the other terms that were there that were specific to the 2015 KTMP, and which council has agreed to. So this motion has to do with how to approach the next Kingston Transportation Master Plan in 2017, 2018. I believe it comes forward in 2017 for adoption in 2018 or just after that. So that's just to say something about number 1. This is a way in which has been done in other places like Colorado, Seattle, and other cities that are noted for their advanced transportation strategies. And that is, you look at everything that has to do with sustainability and your transportation system. And so part 2 is that you engage experts right from the start, people that are have expertise and long experience in the areas that are indicated there, like complete streets, active transportation, transit transportation, full cost analysis, transportation energy use, and greenhouse gas emissions, so that you can get the best ideas going forward. And so the underlying principle there would be effective sustainability, not just wanting to be Canada's most sustainable city, but developing the methodologies and plans that go with that. And the third part is public engagement, to get people thinking about and envisioning how the transportation alternatives would work together. For instance, we do some of that already. Like, for example, we do have bicycle racks on our buses, right? So, but are we pushing it to the extent that we really could? Well, that's why you ask people that really know and have done surveys of different things that have been done in different cities and can bring those kind of cutting edge ideas to play and give you an idea of what, in a vision of how you could bring all your aspects together, your elements of your transportation system. So that's the rationale behind this motion. It's aimed at the next Kingston Transportation Master Plan, and I hope that Council will see that this is the direction that we can go in and how we can go in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the amendment? Councillor Neal?
Yes, I support the intent of the amendment. These additional provisions, I think, will make both we as decision makers, but also whoever the next consultant is that gets hired to do the next KTMP, it'll give them a better knowledge base, if you will, or information base to draw upon so that we can get a better product that we can all embrace at the end of the process. So I totally support this. We also, I'd like to remind people, will have the additional ability, because it'll be done a year and a bit prior to the next KTMP, we'll have the active transportation master plan that will also be able to inform the next consultants and inform council at the next KTMP process. So I totally support these as they are. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Councillor Bohm.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. This is more of a question. I'm just wondering if this amendment is really in keeping with what's before us right now, and if this isn't more of a policy shift here rather than an actual amendment to what's actually before us. So I'm more procedurally, is this actually something that shouldn't be dealt with through policy kind of later on rather than as an amendment to what we have before us, I guess is my question for clarification.
So on the procedural question, I mean, I think it's fair to bring forward additional amendments. I think what we could do is we could ask a question from staff. Is there anything here that is contradictory in direction to what's already been approved? Is there someone from staff that can address that? Mr. Van Buren?
Through Your Worship, reviewing the material there in the amendment, I don't see anything that would be contradictory to the matter as it relates to the Transportation Master Plan. I think those elements are doable. The only consideration that we'll leave with Council is the fact that the elements 2 and 3, as we read through those, will obviously require some additional effort and the potential for some additional cost to arrange that.
Thank you.
Councillor Allen.
Just considering Councillor Bohm's question, it does seem like this is an approach that we may want to think about using as a city in general in terms of how we look at consultation and open process. And I'm still digesting this because there's quite a bit of information and suggestions in it. I think the approach in general makes sense. What I'm concerned about is in item 2, and this is sort of a question to the mover, I guess, but what it seems to me is that we're looking to consult prior to the RFP process to determine what we put into the RFP process, so that we're consulting on what we're going to be what our consultants will do, who will then consult in the formulation of the plan. That is sort of my concern with the language in item 2. That may not be what the intent is and where it's going, but that's essentially what I'm hearing or seeing when I read it. And I don't think that consultation is a bad thing, but I do worry that we could overuse it in such a way that we are taking things too far. And in that case, like, consulting on how we're going to apply our RFP process is something that we really need to take a look at in a general way as an organization and as a council. In terms of the Kingston Transportation Master Plan, I think encouraging collaboration with all of our departments in number 1 is great. I think setting up additional visioning exercises outside of the context of the master plan, as we continue to learn about what our community wants, as part of integrated as part of our survey, as our household survey, that's all excellent as well. I don't even know what was done in Colorado. This is where number 2 is very difficult for me, because I haven't been educated as to what we're trying to do in that. And I'm fairly knowledgeable about transportation, I think, as a lay person and as somebody who thinks about it on a regular basis. But that number 2 does concern me at this point, and that's my issue. I totally understand the intent. I know that we were a little surprised at how many community meetings and how much public engagement happened in the initial transportation master plan development that started over a year ago. And I think that's part of what's driving this. But I do want to make sure that if we're talking about consulting with the public on how we're going to hire our consultant to consult with the public, we might be slightly overreaching ourselves. And I just want to voice that concern in terms of what that may be asking.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Stroud, will you take the chair?
Certainly, and I recognize you, Your Worship.
Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Allen's comments. I think he and I are on the same wavelength tonight. Like Councillor Allen said, I have no issue with item 1, although to suggest perhaps that it might be a little redundant, I think that there's lots of evidence that suggests that our departments of planning, transportation, engineering, and environment sustainable initiatives do work together. But if we want to just restate that, then I'm certainly fine with that. Again, the problem I have with number 2 and 3 is exactly what's been said. So we're going to do a whole extra round of consultation even before the RFP process starts. And we've heard from staff that that's likely going to add cost and time to this process. And my sense is that there's, if anything, a desire among council to kind of get going on what the next version of the Transportation Master Plan will look like. So from what I've heard, it's probably better to get the ball rolling, and then we can have all kinds of consultation. And my understanding is the intent from Councillor Hutchison is absolutely correct, that we want cutting edge ideas and all of that, but we don't need to do all of that before the RFP process. We want to kind of kick that off and include that language that will ensure that kind of consultation. I think just to draw council's attention to the last clause that we've already approved in the existing recommendation is that staff be directed to develop a terms of reference for the preparation of a request for proposals for the next update to the Kingston Transportation Master Plan to commence in 2017 and provide a report with the proposed terms of reference to the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee no later than 2017 Q2. So we've already directed staff to come forward to EITP with the plan for what the terms of reference for the RFP will look like in 2017. So there will be plenty of opportunity at that point to provide input if we want to change language, if we want to structure it in such a way to ensure that we get the kind of consultant that we want that's going to have those leading edge ideas. We don't need to handcuff staff and put that in a box right now, because there might be something that comes over the next year that says, you know what, we should also do this with the RFP process, or maybe we should change this approach. So why do we need to make that decision right here, right now? I think that's better to wait until we're ready, then we can have that discussion at that point. So for those reasons, I'm going to ask that clause 2 and 3 be separated. So I'm going to vote for clause 1, but I'm going to be voting against clause 2 and 3. Thank you.
You may have the chair back, and I see a couple of councillors over here.
Thank you. So next on the list is Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just having a little trouble because it's not easy to see the whole thing. But I guess, in essence, I have one now. It's okay. Just not sure if everybody knows what I'm talking about. I suppose my comments really are in support of the amendment in its entirety, in that I think that what Councillor Hutchison is looking for here is a way to make this process more efficient in a way by incorporating this kind of input, community consultation, with the high-level experts involved early on, in order not to just sort of create a sense of buy-in, but the comments that we received in the last consultation process for the KTMP sort of suggested that people showed up and they were presented a bunch of options and ideas, and they got to kind of go around and look at all these ideas, and they could provide input, but they didn't really feel like their experience as users of the system were reflected in some of these options, and so would have liked an opportunity to have, I think, one of the things about the consultation process for this plan, which should be noted, is that everything is interrelated. So when you're making a change to how transit is developed, or how bike lanes and roads and bridges all work together, there are impacts on drivers, bicycle riders, pedestrians that kind of fluctuate according to these different dynamics. So I think it would be very useful to have all of those ideas presented early on, with the potential impacts presented to the public, and an opportunity for the public to say, this is how I see, from the perspective of a cyclist, the world being sort of changed through the ideas that are before us. So, with respect to the colleagues who don't see this as a benefit but as an extra expense, I will disagree and I will support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my list is Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I'm just a little concerned. I do understand the visioning exercise, and I do understand engaging the constituents in decisions in the future, but I'm just worried about the red tape, and that it won't be efficient, and that we need to make things easy for people, and to make it easy for people to do an RFP and to get things done in this city. And also, I lived in Colorado, and I don't understand what you're talking about with the buses and what efficiency they did have there. So if you could give us this information, if you want to pass something like this ahead of time, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. So with regards to all of these things in the community consultation, I'd just like to point out that we have just agreed to, in the a few minutes ago, to consult with the people in the RFP process. This is a new council. This is what we're doing. We're doing better community consultation that happened in the past. This is an attempt, in fact, to get more efficient ideas out there. Part of the reason that the Transportation Master Plan of 2015 was delayed so much is because it didn't agree with what the people wanted. And we, as the elected representatives, had to communicate that. In order to stop that from happening in the future, if we just do a little bit more time at the beginning, we would have a much swifter time of getting things through in the end. If we when we just agreed to having a second public meeting in the RFP, that sets up the stage for what is acceptable to the people. When we agreed that we want to have people that are a consulting team that has expertise in 6 different categories, this was arrived at by consulting with the people so that we get closer to what they want in the final product. It may be a little bit more costly at the beginning, but it will save us a lot more in the end. Excuse me. It will save us more in the end. And because it'll save us more in the end, this is an increase in efficiency. What we're doing here is consulting with the public. We live in a democracy. Why wouldn't we want to do this? This is we've pledged ourselves to open government. We want the people to tell us what they want, and we want to listen to them. And this is one opportunity, because when you set the RFP, you're setting the criteria upon which you will listen to the people. And one of the things that I did here was that quite often there were too many preset constraints on visioning exercises. So when we set the previous step to the visioning exercise, the RFP process, we are actually becoming more democratic, more open. And if we really believe in those values, we should really keep these things. And this is the future of democracy. Let's be on the right side of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm glad we're having this debate, and I thank the mover for bringing this amendment forward so that we can have this conversation. I feel like it's a productive one. I feel like there's very valid points on both sides. I agree with both sides. I think that I can point that out, that we have something in common in this debate. The decision-making process needs to be efficient, and it needs to come out with a better outcome. Because the reality is, I think we can all agree on this as well, the current KTMP, which was set in process by previous council, the RFP and everything, and the consultant that was chosen, which was the same consultant as was used before that, that process it will end up, if this amendment passes, quite different from the next KTMP, because we're spelling out some changes here. The problems with the current KTMP, a lot of them are sort of systemic with the way that the RFP was arrived at in the first place, and the consultant that was chosen. And we're living with that, and I think we have to move forward, and this is how you move forward. You look to the next one. So you could sort of sum it up by saying we were so disappointed with the lack of cutting-edge thinking in the current KTMP that we feel, some of us, that we need to spell out. We actually specifically do need to spell out what we are looking for in the next KTMP, which is going to happen during this council, and which we hope will be consistent with the strategic priorities that we do all agree with. Now, I think many of the objections here are valid, and they'll need to be incorporated into the thinking. I see the second clause being more consulting with experts than consulting with constituents, but some of the experts are our constituents, so there's a little bit of crossover there. I do see clause 2 being difficult to understand, because we're basically saying we want advisors to tell us how to set up our RFP, expert advisors. However, currently our expert advisors are staff. Staff go to a consultant to get that expert advice once they've chosen what the topic is. So we weren't happy with the way that staff did this, informed by the last council's direction the last time, so we're spelling it out this time. Are we going to need to do this every time? I hope not. But in this case, it is true that there was so much backlash in the community over and dissatisfaction over the current KTMP, and what's missing from it, that we feel we need to go in this direction. And for that reason, I will be supporting the whole amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the amendment? Councillor Hutchison, you can speak last.
Thank you. This amendment addresses two broad issues, and that is democracy, which we've talked about, consultation, and excellence. And you get the best results, I would suggest, when the two are in creative balance. And it's not always easy to do because excellence tends to bring elitism and democracy tends to follow the latest favorite idea. But I think we can do that, and we do it, I think we just passed something where we're trying to do that. It was referred to by Councillor McLaren on the Kingstown development. And we're moving towards an RFP with inputs. What this is about is, it is about change, and that's always a little difficult, okay? It's about changing the way we do things with a view to getting a better, more creative result. And it does stem from the disappointment with the current 2015 KTMP, which I think we all, however we think about it in the end, we recognize it was a problem. So I don't think there's an extra layer of consultation, that's true, but it's not bureaucratic or involved with red tape. It's really about seeking clarity from the best people we can draw to the conference reference there, who maybe it'll be video conferencing, maybe that'll be cheaper. There's lots of ways of doing it these days. And so they would talk to us and our staff about what is being done in other cities and how well they're doing. Because there are other cities doing better than us. But we want to be the most sustainable city, right? And that's tough to do when you're small, right? But we're still, I think to our credit, and I'll credit everybody else but myself here, that we are able to do this. But we still need the expertise from people that survey widely and have the depth of knowledge that will inform us. And then we have to figure out how to make those things work together. And that's not easy to do. And our staff are very good, but as you probably noticed, they've got their hands full most of the time. So it's really about helping us as a council, but especially helping our staff and giving them the chance to be enlightened about what's going on outside their particular purview. And so this is about preparing for the RFP. What would go, not telling us how to do it, we know how to do it, we do it all the time. But what would be in it, what would we be looking for, and how it would differ from what we did the last time? And that, of course, leads to the type of transportation master plan you would get back. You know, good goes in, good comes out. And we all know the reverse of that. As for Colorado and Kingston, they're linked. It was the same transportation expert that's kicked off both of them in the bus system and transit system. Well, they didn't mention that, but Councillor Turner got it right anyway. So, and this is, if you saw where we were in 2008 and the strides we have made in 7 years, it's amazing, okay? And especially if you compare it to 2004, which was, as staff had pointed out to me, a breakthrough change in our attitude towards active transportation. So this is pushing the envelope, I agree, but it's pushing an envelope in a creative and powerful way and saying we're going to think about this differently, how we do things differently. We're going to know where we want to go and what's out there and what's the best thing for us.
30 seconds.
And that's what this is about. And it's preparing for it because staff starts as soon as we pass this. They're not going to wait to 2017 to get their machinery and their thinking processes and their planning in place. So I encourage you to vote for the future. Vote for the present and the future and support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll take the vote on the amendment, but we will first on the opening and then clause 1, and then we'll take a separate vote on clauses 2 and 3. Okay, so on clause 1, please vote. And that carries. on then clauses or paragraphs 2 and 3? Please vote. And that carries by a vote of 7 to 5. So on the recommendation now as amended, any further comments? Councillor Neal.
Yes, thank you. I know many of us have been lobbied by people in the community, many of whom I have a great deal of respect for, but asking us to just say no to the Transportation Master Plan. I want to point out that what we've done, I think, with the amendments today and the mayor's amendment at our previous meeting, was we've made the best of what I thought was an awkward situation, frankly. And that's why the earlier amendment said that council receive the 2015 Kingston Transportation Master Plan. There is a big difference between saying we approve or we endorse or we receive. And that was a conscious effort for us to say that we're receiving the report, which can be referenced in staff reports in the future or by councillors in the future, but it need not. We aren't locked into just those. Some people in the community have asked, well, why didn't we amend it? There's something that called intellectual property, that every consultant we hire owns their report. They don't own the recommendations that come out of their report. And I think we've done, with today's amendments and with the amendments from our previous council meeting, I believe we've been able to make better points. The fact that there will be an RFP process that will be totally open and transparent, and that it will come through EITP, where the public always have an opportunity to speak to any action motion on the agenda. Already, I believe we're moving towards an improved process. We also did, I think, a very good job at being more ambitious with our transportation targets, whether it be active transportation or transit. We have said we're willing to go beyond what the consultants were recommending in their report. So I think what we have before us is a much improved recommendation. We're 18 months out of an RFP being let for this. We're only a year out from the active transportation master plan. So we have an ability to get better information, better factual expert information to take forward, so that hopefully whoever the consultant is that is hired to do our next master plan will be able to get a greater community buy-in for that process. So I believe we've made the best of an awkward situation, as I said at the beginning, and I think with these amendments we have a good next step to a better master plan in future that we can all embrace. So I appreciate the mayor's amendments at the last meeting. I appreciate the councillors' amendments at this meeting, and I will be supporting it as amended.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Deputy Mayor Strout.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to rise up to a high level at the beginning of my comments. So, transportation and what this council's what we stand for. We're still working out. We have a strategic priority list, but we're still sort of working out what we actually stand for. But I think one thing that we have shown is that we would like to pitch a big tent. In other words, include as many people as possible in our policies. That inclusivity has been a driving force in many of our decisions. And I think that's one way of pointing out the problems with the current 2015 KTMP, is that it's not inclusive enough. Because with transportation, the truth is, there's only one mode of transportation that everybody uses, and that's your feet. That's the way we started when we came out of the caves, and it's the way you start when you're a child, and it's the way that you do as an adult, and as an elderly person with a cane or a walker. It is the only all-inclusive mode of transportation. That's one thing that wasn't addressed enough in this plan. But in another way, inclusivity includes every type of wheeled vehicle, including golf carts and skateboards and rollerblades and anything you can think of. Now, you might not use those things. You might use a car. In fact, 90% of you probably do. But that doesn't mean that our transportation master plan should focus on the car's dominance, which frankly, that's what it's been in North America for the last 50 years. I mean, we didn't get here by accident. So, we got essentially a KTMP that didn't really, hasn't kept up with the changing times. And the changing times that we are hearing from other places, but also the brand of thinking that we as a council are trying to bring to the people of Kingston is this all-inclusive attitude that everybody is allowed. So the streets are for everybody. The getting from point A to point B is for everyone. We've made transit improvements. We've made transit free for high school students. All of this is consistent with a positive, forward-looking approach. So to say that this awkward report that we got started from previous council, that we have to accept it because there's no choice, is that may be true. I'm in favor of all the amendments. I voted for them last time. I'm in favor of the amendment that happened today, but I asked for the first clause to be separated because I'm not very happy with the current KTMP, and I didn't want to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. I was surprised at the amendments, and it was a difficult decision to vote for them because part of me goes, oh, that's going to cost money and it's going to take extra time. But I have been the one that's been saying the exact sort of same thing. There's a lot of change coming, and I'm not sure unless we do this sort of thing, we're going to be ready for it. I think of my neighbor who is in a wheelchair, a young man, and he wants to be independent, so he's always on the road. He hates our sidewalks because they're bumpy. And I think there are a lot of people in wheelchairs do that. We haven't, when we discuss even, we're just still discussing the idea of separated bike lanes a la King Street West. There's a couple, which would be a perfect asphalt road for wheelchairs and bicyclists and skateboarders because it's smooth. There are many things we haven't even really talked about yet as part of our whole transportation plan, and yet there are new modes of transportation coming on stream every day practically. There's that new skateboard that's pretty much electrically controlled that, I might even be able to do someday because you don't have to balance so well. But there is stuff coming, and I think we really do need to have a good look at it before we choose our next, get our next transportation master plan. So I did vote for it. Part of me was going, oh no, but the other part was going, it's coming. There's just so many things on tap that are going to hit us, and we really don't have a way to get people around with all the new modes that are available. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the recommendation as amended? Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I'm pleased that we're not deferring this tonight. We know that transportation is important to our community. We know that because we've heard. And we know that because we go out and we speak to our constituents, because that's what we do as elected representatives. And we want to make sure that we have the best transportation system for our city, which is why we make amendments that I don't fully agree with, but will support at this point. I have concerns. How do we, I'm trying to leave this, and I'm just going to mention, how do we choose these experts? Do we issue an RFP to choose the experts who are recognized to help us sign up the RFP? Are they the people who email us that have written that they have qualifications at the bottom of their emails? How do we find these experts? And that is, and is there a cost that comes with those experts? Because generally, these internationally recognized experts come at a price, regardless of how we've procured them. And I really just want to get back out in the community and build the plan that they want to build. And that's what my hesitation with those amendments were. I'm going to, swallow it. I've swallowed it now. I've shared my thoughts. But the key is that we have to build a city that moves. The economy, the systems that get us to work, to the K-Rock Center, to downtown, to other cities, they're all critical in a modern society. And we want to make sure that our constituents can get where they want to go. There are things in this plan that will help us do that. There are some great recommendations about what we should do next. And I think this council, based on our continuous deliberation of this, has shown that this isn't something we're going to pass and forget. This is going to be something that we're going to continuously work on through our committees, through motions at council, and together, because we have great discussions at this table about what this means, because we all want the best thing. And so I'm going to support this and move it forward so that we can keep our city moving. Thank you.
Thank you. So seeing no other speakers, we will call the vote. Deputy Mayor Stroud has asked that the first paragraph be separated, and I'm offering this only as a procedural thought, so I'm not going to hand the chair over, but just to clarify that the word receive is very much a neutral language, and it's a little unclear whether, if we've already received the report, if we can vote against receiving the report. But in theory, you can vote against that, but I'm only just going to offer that as just a procedural thought. That being said, so we'll call the vote on the first paragraph of Clause 1. Please vote. And that carries by a vote of 10-2. On the balance, the remaining paragraphs, we will call the vote. And that carries. Report number 4 from Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. It's my pleasure to present report number 4 from the Planning Committee. Ask it be received and adopted. Thank you. Thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that report number 4 of the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
So there are 3 clauses. We will separate the clause for which Councillor Turner has declared a pecuniary interest. Which clause is that? Okay, so number 1. So first we'll do the vote on number 1. Councillor Turner is stepped away from the horseshoe. So clause 1 is an application for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, 530 Maple Lawn Drive. We will call the vote. And that carries. Would anyone like 2 or 3 separate? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote on them together. Now, item 2 is the application for zoning bylaw amendment 809 and 829 Development Drive. Item 3 is the application for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment 823 Highway 15. Please vote. And that carries. Report number 5 from the Administrative Policies Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship, and it is my pleasure to introduce report number 5 from the Administrative Policies Committee, duly moved and seconded. Thank you.
So it's moved by Councillor Bohm, seconded by Councillor Stroud, that report number 5 from the Administrative Policies Committee be received and adopted.
There's just the one item, the 2015 Interim Audit External Audit Plan. We'll call the vote. And that carries. Report number 6 from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee.
It's my pleasure to submit EITP report, the busiest committee on this agenda. Thank you.
Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Allen, that report number 6 from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee be received and adopted.
There's just the one clause, the KMP Trail, Inner Harbor Trail, alternate proposed route. Deputy Mayor Stroud.
I just have a couple of questions for staff. There's been some concern in the community about, and we heard the delegation tonight about the surface asphalt. And I was wondering, in line with my earlier comments just now about inclusivity of users, would there be any groups or types of modes of transportation that would not be possible with crushed gravel that are indeed possible with asphalt?
Commissioner Hurdle.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe I can start and Mr. Falwell can add to my response. So I think in terms of not be possible, that would be pretty difficult to respond to that, saying a group it wouldn't be possible for certain groups to use it. I think what some of the things we looked at and took into consideration include accessibility being one of them. It also include the type of use that we anticipate we will see in the urban section of the KNP Trail versus a rural section. So we anticipate that this trail will be used not only for recreational purpose, but also for active transportation, which is not necessarily the case in the rural area where we have really truly a recreational trail. So looking at those things and taking into consideration in the future, should there be a requirement for snow clearing, for example, if that's something through active transportation that council wanted to see that level of service, that would not be possible with the crushed stone. So, but it would be feasible with the asphalt. So we took all of those things into consideration when we brought forward the recommendation to council.
Thank you. So just as context, I'm going to read the first bullet from page 5 in the report. It talks about the surface. It says surface will be asphalt, and then it gives the reasons. I'm just going to read it out quickly. Many of the people who are in favor of crushed stone may not have read every line in the report, so I'm just going to get it out there, public record. Asphalt is the recommended treatment for urban multi-use pathway systems. It provides a level of service and user experience that is superior to gravel trail services and can be demonstrated to significantly increase participation and usage by all pathway users. That would suggest that not only would you have more types of users, but you'd have more users from each type because it's smooth, clean, firm, and consistent, which improves the user's experience and safety. With a possible exception of dogs on hot days finding it too hot, which was one of the objections that we heard. The service level and user experience for asphalt pathways do not degrade as quickly as gravel and remains high for a much higher percentage of the life cycle of the pathway. The associated maintenance is also low for asphalt pathways, which leads me to my next question. Do we have an estimate on the cost differential for maintenance? So this is operating cost, not capital cost. Operating cost difference. Is it it says here in the report that it's cheaper or that it's low. Is it cheaper than for gravel, and how much cheaper, and maybe perhaps why is it cheaper?
Commissioner Hurdle.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in the report that went to EITP, the estimated cost is $11,000 for the maintenance, and that's based on asphalt. That includes grass cutting, trimming, forestry management, those kinds of things. If you had crushed stone, it would require a lot more maintenance because when you have, for example, heavy rains or those kinds of things, so you would be required to do more maintenance of the actual trail itself or the pathway itself. I don't have the actual number, but it was in discussion with the Public Works group that it was identified that the crushed stone would require more maintenance than the asphalt trail.
And would it be possible to use the sidewalk plows for snow removal on a gravel surface?
Mr. Keach.
So it would be possible, but I think it would be problematic. If you look at sidewalk plows on sidewalk or paved surfaces, if they stray off the sidewalk, I think the councillors are aware of the complaints and whatnot they get, and basically putting them on the gravel surface, you're going to get a lot more of that type of damage, and I think a lot more of complaints. So possible, but it would not be recommended, and it will come with a number of issues.
Okay, and this other question is unrelated to the surface. It might be related. Is the spur pathway improvement to Bell Park, so the segment F, I think it's called in the report, is that getting any improvements at this point, or was that something that was cut out since in the amendments at committee?
Mr. Falwell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So that was not recommended as part of this report. We've got that on page 10 where we talk about the connection into Bell Park, so that is not included.
So that section would remain crushed stone at the surface that it is right now, or that's identical to the way it is. I'm thinking about when we heard from the delegation, the last speaker of the delegation that wanted us to respect the traditional Bell Park lands there, and there would be no changes at this point.
That's correct. We're not identifying any changes north of the Montreal Street and Railway intersection. It's something that we would bring back to council at a later date where we have future connections to the north of Bell Park up to John Counter Boulevard as options, and we would certainly bring those back for consideration.
Thank you. So just to point out that there will remain off-road nature trail type experiences at Bell Park and in other places in the core for trail enthusiasts that want that kind of experience that might join up to the KMP but wouldn't be actually part of the KMP. And that again leads me to think the inclusivity. So the trail enthusiasts still have trails they can use, and hopefully keep as many people happy as possible. I did have an amendment ready to ask for some of the asphalt from the plan to be removed, but I'm not going to move it based on the answers that I'm hearing from staff. I truly do. I've been convinced through these questions and these answers that asphalt is the surface that will get the highest use of this trail, and that is what we want. We want this trail to be successful. We want the community to love it, and we want as many different types of people on it as possible. And as far as the fast-moving bikes go and the slow-moving pedestrians, we hope that all the users will show common courtesy, as they often do now, Councillor Neal's pointed out, of sharing the path. And hopefully that will be part of Kingston's culture as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stanek.
Thank you, Your Worship. As Councillor Neal pointed out, there are, EITP has been a popular committee tonight. So similar to the Kingston Transportation Master Plan, this K&P Trail Report has also had a flurry of emails from the public back and forth to council, and all that feedback is very much appreciated for that extra set of eyes on the reports. Hopefully what won't happen tonight is that the trail be deferred like the KTMP was deferred so many times, because we have given staff the deadline of opening up the trail for July 2017. But like the KTMP, I do have a few amendments to make on the floor tonight. And so council did receive an email last night from a resident, and it had some pictures of turtles that are along the shoreline by the woolen mill, which the K&P Trail will go along. And so my amendment has to do with that. There's this is a picture of the turtle trying to cross over the pathway at the woolen mill. And we also have a photo of the turtle in the grass area between Doug Fleur Park and the woolen mill. And so with my amendment, we don't want to interfere the construction specifically along the woolen mill, along the shoreline there. We don't want the trail to interfere with nesting season. We want staff to consult with the CRCA. As you can see, this path is right now crushed gravel. And so what we're proposing is asphalt. That will help the city comply with the Accessibility, Ontario Accessibility AODA Act, where next year any new pathways, do have to be accessible, and we could have this gravel, as asphalt. But as you can see, there's natural areas on either side of the pathway. So if we could just do whatever we need to, I believe it's 3 meters of asphalt. And if there's anything left over on either side before you get the retaining wall, then let's leave it natural as soft gravel so that hopefully the turtles will still have some nesting area. So if the clerks could put up my amendment, that's basically what the 3 clauses to add to refer to. So it's to not do the construction along the shoreline there during turtle nesting season, to consult with the CRCA, and further to, keep in mind that this is a sensitive natural area as we go towards the detailed design phase, which is the next phase that we go to.
Okay, thank you. So there's an amendment. As we can see, it's been put forward by Councillor Stanek, moved by Councillor Hutchison. So any discussion on the amendment? Councillor Neal.
Yes, I totally support the amendment. I did have a question for staff, both park and engineering. I know from, and I can't remember if this kernel of knowledge came out of my time on CRCA or a previous discussion at EITP regarding turtles, but I know that the MTO has a best practices policy that goes a long way to mitigating potential loss of nesting habitat for the for turtles. Would that be something that the Parks Department or engineering would have an opportunity to take into consideration some of that best practices mitigating policy?
Mr. Falwell.
Through you, Your Worship, we would certainly do that. We have been in consultation with the CRCA throughout this process, and they have recommended some improvements to this specific area that Councillor Stanek has shown the photos of. And through the detailed design process, we will continue with biologist consultation, environmental consultation, and certainly reach out to any best practices from the turtle nesting component that could be incorporated into not just this section in front of the woolen mill, but other sections throughout the length of the KMP Trail.
Great, thank you. And I think I see a nod from engineering as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing Councillor Hutchison.
I just have one question. Is it 3 meters, the amount that has to be left there? I know that's very common, but I know that path really well, and 3 meters might be hard to come by.
Mr. Falwell.
Through the section near the woolen mill, we've identified some areas of the retaining wall that would be adjusted to allow for that additional width. Through that additional width, we will include some basking areas and nesting areas offset of the hard surface to allow for the turtles to, during their nesting season, some space.
Good, thank you. And that last bit answered another question. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote on the amendment. Please vote. And that carries. Councillor Stanek, you have 2 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock.
No, I'll give the time back. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. A question through you to staff regarding, I'm going back to the issue of surface for the trail. With the potential snow clearing of an asphalt trail, can staff comment on what's required as far as, would there be any impacts on the trees and the shading in order to get the equipment, like the size of the equipment to do the job of cleaning the trail? Would that require removing any of the forested areas that we would like to see kept?
Mr. Falwell.
Through your worship, certainly there will be some tree removals as part of this project. We have identified and will do a tree inventory throughout the route and identify key species that would be retained and provide additional plantings during that route. But there are widths that have been identified and recommended from safety perspective, and some clearing and grubbing as well through from essentially the River Street North components up to John Counter Boulevard.
Okay, so just then to follow up, I guess we're not really looking at a recommendation of a gravel option at this point, but I am just curious, just very generally speaking, if there are, we've talked or heard from the delegations about the potential to keep a more natural surface and some of the natural habitat that would be involved with that. So is there a distinction that would be made with a gravel surface as opposed to asphalt surface in terms of the amount of natural habitat we would be able to maintain? Or is it just like a clearing process that's necessary for a trail period that would be the same in either case? Just hypothetically.
Mr. Falwell.
It would be the same in either case.
Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship. Earlier this evening, we heard a very articulate plea with the way, or argument for the maintaining the crushed gravel in Bell Park, particularly, I suspect, near the Bell Park Island and by a native representative. And I was wondering if there was anything we could do to try and maintain the natural or more natural condition of the trail, or the trails, or there'd be more than one there, in that area, so that we could at least try to address that. And I know it's not, well, it's connected to this. It's all part of the same thing. If you could address that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Falwell.
Through you, Your Worship, yes, we don't have any plans to do any additional upgrades or expansion of trails on Bell Park or on Bell Island at this time. Staff have been working with First Nations on the removal of the golf component on Bell Island, and that work has just been completed. And we will start to remove the golf experience off of Bell Island. And we anticipate further discussions with First Nations on how we can naturalize where the golf actions had been taking place. And I would anticipate that discussions on additional amenities or reduction of the current level of service there is something that would come up at that time.
Thank you. And if I could just say a couple of remarks. One is the whole crushed gravel versus asphalt issue. And this is an issue of some concern and passion for some people. And it's been going on for me because it's in my district for, I don't know, probably a couple of years at least. So a couple of things persuaded me away from the crushed gravel option, and I suppose I should make myself clear on this. The first one was the aspects of maintenance and so on that were already mentioned, and costs and so on, over time. And one other reason was that these trails, as I've always thought of them, are not just recreational. The hope is that when we have a good trail system, is people will use them to get to work. And then they really will be a added asset to our city, right? And people do already do that, but as we lengthen it and improve it, more people will be able to partake. And I hope to see that increase. The other thing is, and this was, maybe I'm mistaken in this, but to me, when staff put it to me, this was a bit of a stop-dead argument. And that is that it's part of the Wellington Street extension discussions and debate. Somewhat connected to that was the development of the Doug Fleur Park concept plan, which people across the city came to, and a lot of people there, plus 200 or so, which is, I think, big for a concept plan meeting. And when that came to council, it passed, if not unanimously, it must have been awfully close. So the pathway that goes through Doug Fleur, now that's going to be asphalt, in addition to the one on the water edge, is asphalt. We voted for it. So I don't want to revisit the concept plan because people were really enthusiastic about it, and I'll include myself. So I think I just got hoisted on my own petard there. So I hate that piece, okay, personally, okay, and I didn't want to see it, but I'm not willing to jeopardize all of this or put you through torture that you're probably not going to agree with anyway, so I'm not going to bring it up. And I just want council and the public to know that there are good reasons for not going with the crushed gravel, including the couple I just mentioned. Thank you. And I hope everybody votes for this because it's in time for the sesquicentennial, and we'll have something really to be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote on the recommendation as amended. And that carries. Item number 2 is the proposed tree planting within Kingston's Valleylands Forest. Please vote. And that carries. Report number 7 from the Nominations Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's my pleasure to present report number 7 from the Nominations Advisory Committee. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Allen, and for consideration by council. Thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Allen. The report number 7 from the Nominations Advisory Committee be received and adopted.
So there's just the one clause of reappointment to the Kingston Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors, that the following reappointments to the Kingston Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors be approved: Sandra Gibson, 1-year term; Peter Kraus, 1-year term; Judith Pino, 3-year term; and Bo Wanschneider, 3-year term. We will call the vote. And that carries. Nothing from Committee of the Whole tonight. We have no information reports. There are no information reports from members of council. We have no miscellaneous business. So on to new motions. Number 1, moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Mayor Patterson. Whereas the consideration by City Council of the budgets of agencies and boards is better achieved by those budgets, including additional information so as to allow those agencies and boards to better present their plans to Council and the public, and to allow Council to be more accountable for the funding it forwards to those entities. And whereas without year-to-year historical comparison of budget information, it is difficult to determine how a corporation, agency, or board is spending its money over time, and as a result to track and appraise what an entity's direction and priorities are, therefore be it resolved that agencies and boards funded wholly and in part from the City of Kingston's municipal budget be requested to present their budget request to City Council, beginning with the 2017 budget by including, number 1, proposed budget reflecting revenues and expenditures information for the budget year. Number 2, previous year's revenue and expenditures budget information and projected actual amounts to year end. Number 3, the 2 prior years' audited amounts, and that the above requested information be presented with footnotes and notes to explain budget concepts, year-over-year differences, significant variances, and anomalies where necessary. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for seconding this. It was really rather an easy process, that part of it. This motion is perhaps self-evident, has been some time in the making, and we're already doing it in part in the city budgets, and staff have already moved to come in line with this motion, so I don't think we are going to be in contradiction asking people for agencies and boards for something they're not willing to do ourselves, but it does take some adjustment. And as you know, we have lots of budget information. And we do get our notes. I mean, you know, we get quite extensive notes in some ways. So what this comes about is that, especially in the past, and then in particular with regard to KEDCO, the budget information we're receiving was so much better this year, so much more informative. I'm not sure how many people had questions. I mean, maybe there were questions outside the council ring, because so much more information was supplied in a clearer, better way. But prior to that, and KEDCO wasn't the only one, it was getting scanter and scanter, okay, the information we were getting. And so the basic concept under this is it's not enough to know what somebody wants to spend their money on the first year. You need to be able to look back and say, clearly your priorities are measured by where you spend your money. And this is a basic principle of organization in some ways. And we want to see that progression so we can look at it. So you can lay a ruler across on some of those fold-out sheets we got and say, oh, look at that, we're pretty even, or boy, this looks like we were much more interested in this year than we were the last 2 years. And then you can ask your questions from there. So it's all about clarity and public presentation and better information to the public. And for that reason, I talked to the mayor about this, and with some changes, we came to a conclusion that this was a good thing to present to you, the council. So hopefully you'll vote for this, and we'll have better budgets in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Okay, we will call the vote. And that carries. For the next motion, I will turn it over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. So this is a new motion moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Councillor George. Seconded by Councillor Bohm. Whereas the roots of the city's police service extend back to December 20th, 1841, when Kingston Town Council proclaimed an act to establish a police force in the town of Kingston, and whereas the city's police service from humble beginnings has grown to a sophisticated and respected law enforcement agency recognized for its professionalism and dedication to the community, and whereas as one of the oldest municipal police services in Canada, the Kingston Police will celebrate their 175th anniversary in 2016, and will be celebrating this milestone with several events throughout the year. Therefore, be it resolved that, notwithstanding the proclamation policy, Kingston City Council proclaimed December 20th, 2015 to December 20th, 2016 as the year of 175th anniversary celebrations for the Kingston Police in the City of Kingston. Does anyone wish? The mover can speak. Go ahead, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. I think that the motion is self-explanatory, but needless to say, and as we heard at budget time, our Kingston Police Force is one of the oldest police forces in the country, and they are celebrating a milestone year, 175 years in the City of Kingston. And so notwithstanding our proclamation policy, which is typically to proclaim something for a week, this summer we did proclaim, I believe, a summer for freshwater sailing. But in my view, this is the sort of occasion that warrants an exception. And so what this motion is asking is that we would proclaim an entire year as the year of the 175th anniversary celebrations for the Kingston Police. So I hope that council will support this, and we certainly look forward to supporting the police force with all of the milestone events that they have planned in 2016. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Well, it is fairly self-explanatory, so we'll call the vote. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. You have the chair back.
Thank you very much. New motion number 3, moved by Councillor McLaren, seconded by Councillor Allen. Whereas the costs of climate change are not generally borne by those who create the greenhouse gas GHG emissions, and placing the cost of climate change on society as a whole constitutes an unfair burden on those who may not benefit from activities that create GHG emissions. And whereas the City of Kingston has committed to reducing GHG emissions, and whereas the City of Kingston does not generally account for GHG emissions or a cost of carbon as part of its project and program planning, therefore be it resolved that City staff provide an overview of the current actions and implementation plans related to GHG emission reduction for both the corporate and the community to Kingston Environmental Advisory Forum, KEEF, to assist with prioritization of projects for research, and that KEEF research and report back on the benefits and methodologies of how the city might create and utilize a cost of carbon to monetize costs and guide program and project planning so that our future work is better aligned with our stated goals for carbon reduction. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. This came about as a result of consultations with the public and many experts as well, including the chair of KEEF and staff, in particular Commissioner Beach. And the high-level thought that's going into this is to put a value on something that has traditionally been unvalued or been valued beyond measure, and that is things like health, liberty, wellness, that kind of stuff. But insofar as it's being hurt by some activities that we may be participating in, and these activities are not usually counted. For example, in a theoretical example, when we have say a dirty factory that's belching filth into the sky, that pollution comes back to the society and is paid for in shorter lifespans, in more hospital visits, in a reduced quality of life. How does one measure this? Well, how does one measure what value life has? That's the question that hasn't been answered in the past, and this is an attempt to answer that. We don't value it per se directly. We value the deviation from the ideal, the deviation from the pristine environment, what it costs to return it back to that, and or the costs that a polluted environment may cause to individuals, say more hospital visits and stuff like that. Having considered that, there are several ways of doing this, and what I'm hoping to do is to ask KEEF to look at some of them and report back on the best ones for our city so that we can actually get a true cost of the various plans that we're doing, the various programs that we do, so that we can mitigate them or choose more appropriate ones. In some cases, when we don't do this, we may choose the most harmful one that may appear to be the cheapest one if you consider only the financial costs. But by considering a broader range of costs to the society, we can actually become more sustainable, which is part of what the definition of sustainability is. by monetizing these extra costs, we actually could be saving the lives of our children and our grandchildren going forward. But if we don't get the information, we'll never know. And if we get the information, then we can make more informed decisions and maybe even optimize those decisions so that we can have a better life, a more livable city, and a more sustainable city. Thank you.
Thank you. So Councillor Neal.
Yes. Thank you very much to the mover and seconder. It's not every day you read a motion and you go, damn, I wish I'd written that. This is an excellent motion. Keefe is the appropriate body to receive this information. Yesterday at our Keefe meeting, we established 4 working groups, one of which was mitigating climate change and energy use, which this motion would fit in perfectly with that working group. So I look forward to information coming from staff to that particular working group so Keefe can bring back some good recommendations to council. Thank you.
Thank you. So Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to exercise a little active transportation and stand. It's been a couple hours now sitting. Thank you, Councillor McLaren, for bringing this motion forward and inviting me to participate in it. Keefe is the Kingston Environmental Advisory Forum and is full of experts and passionate community members who think about ways to combat climate change and protect our environment every day. And through our working group, we can reach out to the university and the experts at the university, as well as other experts in our community, to come up with a few recommendations that then council can consider for implementation as part of how we approach projects in our community and how we approach projects internally. I think it's a great time to be having this conversation. We see provinces in Canada starting to look at prices on carbon, cap and trade systems, different ways of putting a value on the emissions that we're using on a daily basis that maybe we don't recognize impacts our daily lives. And certainly we heard last week or last council meeting from Dr. Warren Mabey about the emissions that our city produces and how we need to travel some distance on improving those emissions. And that requires everyone together to do that, and this hopefully will bring some tools together for that. We need those tools because there's no one way to combat climate change, but there are a lot of ways. And we need ourselves and our council to lead the way, but we also need our community to make those choices on a daily basis, and we have to help them provide those choices. So I look forward to your support on this and to seeing what a great committee can do and benefit council, because that's what these committees are meant to do. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote. And that carries. Are there any notices of motion? Okay, Mr. Clerk will ask for minutes.
It's moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Candon, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2015-26, held Tuesday, November 17th, 2015, be confirmed.
Please vote. And that carries. We have some tabling of documents. We have a number of communications. Is there any other business? Councillor Neal.
Just by way of a public service announcement, I'd like to welcome our new MP, former mayor, who has moved uptown. His constituency office is now in Williamsville at the corner of Drayton and Princess. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other business? I'd just like to just draw everyone's attention to the fact that this is the final council meeting for our deputy clerk, Kevin Arjun, who will be moving. He'll be moving to take over the clerk's job in Halifax, and so on behalf of council, we want to thank him for his fine work the last few years, and we'll wish him all the best. Here. So with that, Mr. Deputy Clerk, one last time, I will ask for bylaws.
So we're going to do some separations for Councillor Turner, so you'll need to badge out, and we'll do 4 and 5 for Maple Lawn. So it's moved by Councillor Stroud, second by Councillor Hutchison, that bylaws 4 and 5 be given their first and second reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
It's moved by Councillor Shell, second by Councillor Osanek, that bylaws 4 and 5 be given their third reading.
And that carries.
So it's moved by Councillor Stroud, second by Councillor Hutchison, that bylaws 1 through 3 and 6 through 8 and 10 be given their first and second reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor Candid, second by Councillor Allen, that Clause 11.34 of Bylaw 2010-1 be suspended for the purpose of giving Bylaw 2 and 3 three readings.
Please vote. That carries.
Moved by Councillor Shell, second by Councillor Osanek, that bylaws 2, 3, and 6 through 10 be given their third reading.
Please vote. And that carries. Motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Candid, seconded by Councillor Bohm. Please vote. And that carries. Thank you very much.